Let's take a look at how to use our graphing calculator to determine some basic statistics, some measures of center like the mean and the median, and then things like range and standard deviation. So I've gone ahead and collected some data about snowfall in Chicago for the past, or for 16 years right here. So the first thing I need to do is get this data entered in my calculator. So to do that, just like we've entered data in the past, let's go ahead and hit Stat. And then select your first option, Edit. So we want to make sure L1 shows up there. If it's not, I can show you how to get that back there. But go ahead and pause the video right now. I've typed my data in already, but go ahead and type in the different snowfall amounts for the last, or for these 16 years right here. And just double check you've typed this data in correctly. There's a lot of it, so it's easy to make a mistake possibly. So go ahead and pause the video, get that data typed in. All right, so I assume at this point your data's in. Let's go ahead then and see how we can use this one var stats option to find out a bunch of information. I have it all printed up here, but let's see how I found this on the calculator. So once your data's typed in, let's go back to stat. This time go over to the calculate column. Or category, and you'll see your first option there is one var stat. So go ahead and select that, and you may not see the screen. If you do, just make sure list says L1. That's where we typed our data in. It should be that way by default. Don't worry about frequency list. Go down to calculate and then press enter. And you'll see this screen pop up with a whole lot of information for you. So I'll briefly go through and let you know what these mean, and we can see what we've written down here for some different answers. So first up, this X bar is what we call it. That's your average, your mean. So the average snowfall for these 16 years is about 41.4 inches. The median, if you scroll down, you'll see there's a little arrow down there. If you scroll down a bit, you'll find the median information in that data. So the middle of your data was 34.7 inches. Range is not listed here. However, range is just the difference between the max and the min, and those values are listed. So the most snowfall in our data was 82 inches. The minimum was 19.8. Subtracting those, I can get my range right there of 62.6 inches. Let's see, interquartile range, that's also not in here, but we'll be talking more about this in a future video. But interquartile range is going to be the difference between these Q3 and Q1 numbers. And again, we'll talk more about those, I believe, in the next video. But for now, it's again just the difference. So Q3 minus Q1 would get us our interquartile range. And what's important to note about that, that's where half your values, half your data is going to be between those two values. So just kind of a side note there. Finally then, standard deviation, another way to measure spread, how spread out our data is. We can find those values right here, this SX, and then I forget what that letter's called, but that X. They're slightly different. Standard deviation measures. Basically, use the top one with the S if you're dealing with a sample. If you don't have all the data, just a sample of the data, use that one for standard deviation. This symbol means you're going to use the entire population, or if you have the entire population. So if we had snowfall information for every single year, which doesn't seem realistic, in this example, we would use this population number. They're slightly different, but that's what they mean. So there's kind of a quick overview just of some of these basic statistics. We won't talk about all these values in class, but those are the big ones I want to talk about for right now. I guess real quick, I'll throw on this one, this N. N just means the number of items, the number of pieces of data you entered in. So it's kind of a quick check. We can see that we typed in 16 snowfall totals for different years. And I think we've talked about then everything else then except these top two, or these these second two here. We won't use those in this class, at least right now, so don't worry about those two. So there's, again, just some basics about finding some statistics using your calculators.